A nervy night at the rally for the Addicks, an important win against West Bromwich Albion, and before the international break, it's a trip to North Wales to play against Wrexham. Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the 27th episode of the From the Valley Flow podcast. My name is Callum. I will be your host as always. Please forgive me. This isn't going to be too long a show this evening. I'm not very well still. Much better than I was on Monday, Tuesday, where I skipped the game. And quite a lot better than last night as well when I wasn't on the Chronicles. But we'll see if I even release this in audio form. It will depend on how the cough is doing. But thankfully that seems to be the last of the symptoms that I have. So depending on just how bad it is, that will determine whether you get an audio version or not. Hi Sam, how you doing? So yeah, excuse me if there's gap where I have to mute the microphone or whatever it is. I'm not in tip-top shape, but much like the championship, the pod must go on. We'll do a pretty quick look back on what was a fairly exciting but somehow really boring game against West Brom on Tuesday. And we'll do a quick look ahead, obviously, to the game in North Wales, or as Nathan Jones calls it, the Circus, on Saturday afternoon. All right, so last night was a Tuesday night. You may have a few sort of factual slip ups as I go through this. So I watched Tuesday night from home. I was in no fit state to get down to the ground. I don't have a huge amount of analytical content to take you all through. Obviously, I was at that point just trying to I'll focus on just kind of staying awake and getting through. But yeah, from what I saw from home, and fair play to Sky, they've got the full HD offering now on a Tuesday. Some pretty baffling commentary, I must say. But they do have proper HD cameras, and the camera angle at the Valley is always good. Tends being able to see the whole pitch, which is nice, unlike something like Ashton Gate, which looks like you're playing a game of FIFA all the time. But yeah, so were there any massive surprises on Tuesday night? I don't think so. I know Hernandez coming at left wing back. I thought it would be TC. I was wrong. I think that Miles coming in at striker, and those were sort of the changes that he made. I think that they made sense. I don't love. I know Hernandez at wing back. He's obviously not a wing back, and he's not a great defender. But I think actually he was okay on Tuesday. There were a couple of moments where my worries about the gap that happens when you have a slower centre back like Macaulay Gillespie in there. And you've got a player, a winger that's going to sort of push themselves forward. Playing left wing back, you end up with a massive gap, and Isaac Price especially sort of took advantage of that pretty much all night. Both chances he should have done better with. The first one, I think one of the commentators was still saying by the end of the game he thought it was offside, and the main one I think was trying to tell him that no, Lloyd Jones is playing him on, but we never saw another replay of it, so it was a little bit bizarre, and there doesn't seem to be a replay from sort of above, so you can see. But either way, he probably should have been doing slightly better there. There was a breakaway chance in the second half where Kaminsky, I don't know if I've seen my post, it's probably going to be better to try and read my ex post than it is to listen to this, but Kaminsky stands up really well. He sort of baits him into shooting. He opens himself up, baits Price into having a shot, which he never should have done. He should have slid Illing Jr. in, going to be some pressure from Lloyd Jones, and Price knocks it almost straight at the keeper, but it was good sort of goalkeeping fundamentals, as I like to call it. And if that goes in, you're raging because that's a £20,000 a week keeper, but he did what he was supposed to do, and in a game where maybe West Brom created a number of opportunities. Illing Jr. in that first half as well had a glorious chance. But the keeper wasn't like Kaminsky was working all game. I just don't think we've seen that all season, a game where the goalkeeper's been working, even when we've sort of been behind in terms of game game form, game function. Sam saying I agree, left wing back is still concerning, but fair play to Anderson, pretty decent. I did, and sorry, I sort of talked about the negatives there. I actually thought Hernandez was good. But it's one of those things, isn't it, where when you play a player out of position, they're gonna, have moments that are difficult, and he's not a defender. I'm not blaming him for not being a defender. But it was he's probably going to play there on Saturday. I would think starting. However, if we're being honest, we're going to move on to what was the. We'll come on to the goal in a second, but we have to move on to the thing that I think really sort of changed the game, which is Ibi Fuller coming on. It was absolutely brilliant. Didn't put a foot wrong. Lit up the place, as Nathan said in his post-match. Beautiful spin, put miles through. Slightly awkward angle for him, but a gorgeous ball, and a lovely spin. The same spin he actually did against Burton on his full sort of debut. Even at League below, to have the the necessary sort of self belief, we'll call it, for the youth version of a pod, to be able to pull that off, I thought was absolutely next level. And I thought Phil looked good all night, pushing forward. Really fantastic 15-20 minute cameo for him. And fair play to Stephen Henderson for saying to Nathan, we need to get him on. Give me 1 sec. Pardon me. That may happen a couple of times. But yeah, so I thought he was really, really good, really exciting. I think that we're actually doing it the right way with him. Give him all the first team training opportunities imaginable, get him on the bench a couple of times. We've got injuries now, seeing you're going to have to use them. Part of this, Sam saying yes, Philly definitely made the difference. It's West Brom panic and they had no idea how to deal with him. Part of it is because you don't have any tape on him, right? That you're going to have to go back and find some academy footage. But at the academy level, he was playing as a central attacking midfielder. Right, so him playing at left wing back is actually really kind of weird. I think Stevenage had the same sort of problem when he started against them. They just didn't really know how to sort of cope with having a player that had the sort of technical ability in that sort of position. I think probably when you play a championship side, that's slightly different. But there's no game tape, so how you really supposed to know is going to spin you out. The way that Ibi did. Also around the number 37, I think it's a nice little a nice little homage to another sort of famous academy graduate. The goal, it was as late as humanly possible. Was it lucky? I don't know. I mean, to win the corner in the first place, we were pressing up. We were the only team trying to win. They brought a centre back on to try and hold out for a point. And irony being what it is, that centre back ended up being the player that deflected past our goalkeeper. Should the goalkeeper do better? I think you'd be disappointed if it was yours. The one maybe sort of get out for Griffiths as one. He was probably the best player on the pitch outside of that moment. And two, he's 6'6", right? Getting down. So that is really difficult once it's sort of deflected. I think probably some people say it's probably going wide if it doesn't deflect. I'm not sure how true a strike it is from Sonny, if I'm honest with you. But Sonny has been absolutely fantastic, hasn't he? I was commenting on Rich's sub right? That our three probably most important players, which are Lloyd Jones. Hi, Stuart. There's a couple of people joining. Apologies. I've been quite ill. There may be a couple of pauses along the way. I'm not going to stay on for too long. Obviously, Charlton Live's in about 45 minutes. But yeah, if I need to pause and sort of do that, please forgive me. Talking about Sonny here. We'll go back to my Sonny here. I think that the goal return over the last 25 games, including his games with Blackpool at the end of last season, is actually it's 15 and 25, isn't it? I think. So do I expect him to continue that rate? I don't know. I think Rich was talking about new contracts. If he continues like this, I assume if he's just come back from League One, he'll be earning a decent championship wage, wage. But whether it's going to be, what some championship players are on, probably not. Our highest paid player is earning a third of what the average player earns at Leicester or whatever it is. So, yeah, I was about to say this, right? Which is I was putting on Rich's Substack that our three probably most important players are we're all free, right? Lloyd Jones, Connor Coventry, and Sonny Carey all put together cost us the grand total of nothing, and one future sell-on fee. So, you can't argue with that sort of transfer business. And to be fair, whether it's Andy Scott for Coventry, whether it's Nathan Jones and Phil Chappell for and also Scott for Jones, isn't it? So whether it's Scott for Jones and Coventry, or whether it's Chappell for Carey, you've got to be pretty happy actually with that transfer business. The reason for this is something I did feel for West Brom players after the game. Noticed a large number of fans giving them grief, which I thought was a bit harsh. This is a team that was expected to be battling for the top six, Sam, and they're currently sat in 15th. And not only that, they can't score. They can't score. The manager looks completely out of his depth, and I don't know if anyone saw the post-match from Brian Mason, where he basically questioned his own ability, which was a slightly baffling place to end up as a manager. I know it's his first year; it's a difficult job. It's a club with a huge amount of history and a huge amount of ambition, West Bromwich Albion, but they also don't actually have a huge amount of money at the moment. So it's a difficult one for him. I think that they're probably have Corberán get sacked by Valencia. Does he go back there? I don't know. It's not a West Brom podcast, is it? But yeah, I think it's a difficult one for Mason. I can understand why they're frustrated. They haven't scored in 500 minutes. I think was it the BBC report of West Midlands or the Midlands Echo or something who was saying that while Stratton fans are saying about going up to celebrating potential promotion to the Premier League, West Brom fans are wondering whether they're ever going to be able to, when they were next able to celebrate scoring a goal. I think that's a pretty accurate portrayal of how they feel at West Brom at the moment. Colin Grant was awful. Must I add, absolutely dreadful. Which is nice because as a former player, I thought Bielik was good for him. Went to a thing here in the comments for those listening about Blackpool fans about Albie Morgan being better than Sonny. I think Albie Morgan's actually been pretty good for Blackpool since he went up there. I think maybe the last season and a half or so, I think he's looked better. I've got to think with Buddy about Fuller in a second. I'll come to in a second, my man. But yeah, I think sometimes it's one of those things, isn't it, where Sonny is 24, right? You sort of hit that point where some players kind of make that leap up. So, just I don't think it's crazy to say that, and maybe I sort of thought it as well, but just you've had a great last 6 months, Sonny, but can you sort of, was that because you wanted to get another contract, which a lot of players play. And you kind of do it because you almost motivate yourself to do it that way. And that sounds almost like you're being harsh, but you're not. It's the same as almost anybody else. If you've got an opportunity to earn another gig or whatever it is. Remember Blackpool, one of the three teams to beat is in Nathan Jones's reign, but I don't remember carrying that game. I don't remember carrying much in that game at all either, if I'm honest with you, Stuart. Raptor was the best player on the pitch at the Valley. I think Thierry Small got hooked before half time. And that may have been actually the beginning of the end for Thierry Small. That goal he scored yesterday, crikey. How on earth is Paul Heckingbottom taught how to shoot and not hit Rose Ed? Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought Rob Apter was the best player on the pitch at the Valley, so it's one of those. I thought Niall Ennis always kills us when we play Blackpool. So we now have a great record against Blackpool actually recently. Have we beaten them since was an EK's last minute goal? Was it 2018, 2019? So yeah, I mean, Sam Maston between frontman Grant isn't great as he used to be. Yeah, I mean, Grant's always kind of been a hot and cold player there, hasn't he, Sam? So I'm not going to talk anymore about West Bromwich Albion, the club, because it's not a West Brom podcast, and I don't know a huge amount. I have a lot of respect, actually, for West Brom and their history, but as does Nathan from the post match. But yeah, I'm not a West Brom podcast. Good, they're all right. They're all right, West Brom. Buddy saying, "Hey, I told you so," but everyone disagreeing about Fuller being in, saying too much of a risk. He comes on, changes the whole game. I don't disagree with you, buddy, and I have. And you can ask anyone who knows me. I've been on the. Thank God he signed that contract extension. Ibrahim Fuller train. I think that anyone who knows anyone around Charlton knows that Ibrahim and Micah are seen as really really special talents. Mwamba is seen as a very perfect Nathan Jones midfielder, but Fuller and Mbik are seen as like really really close to generational talents. For the level that we're at. So the fact they're both under contract went till 28 is it Mbik and no 29 now, isn't it? Because he's had an extension before going off to Colchester. I think Fuller's 29 as well. So there's no pressure to sell them unless we kind of get the money we want. But I mean, I think this is a good conversation you guys are having here too. I think Stuart Fuller is very young. Nathan is risk averse, so therefore Fuller won't start much if at all. And playing an 18-year-old is a risk. Buddy, I disagree. Stuart Beach, their own Nathan Jones myself said it when Fuller keeps playing, it'll be impossible to drop. I think you're both right. I think that it would be a massive risk to throw an 18-year-old who's not really a left wing back to start the game at Wrexham on Saturday, for example. However, I absolutely could see why you would do it. I don't think I know Hernandez was bad enough on Tuesday night for him to be dropped. It's just a question of whether Fuller was good enough. And I think it's possible he was for him to have earned that spot on Saturday. It'll be very interesting to see what Nathan does. I mean, I know obviously he hasn't played a heck of a lot of football, so may not be able to, do the 2 games in a week thing. By the sounds of it, it sounds like, Gordon and Edwards aren't a million miles away. So hopefully we can have a left wing back by after the international break at a reasonable point. Sam saying he'll know not to start Braun from the bench. I mean, I think he could be, he's one of those sort of game changer type players. I actually think Tanto probably falls into the same bracket. I'm probably disagreeing with my Chronicles friends when I say that. I think he's a player that's much better as an impact player than he is starting a game. I think when he starts a game, he just doesn't quite have the same impact. Yeah, Stuart saying Fuller will only come as an impact if we need to change the game. If 1-0 down, then yes, maybe. We're leading them, then he won't. I think that's probably true. I think it's a question of whether it's what you think Nathan will do or whether it's a question of what you think of what you want to happen. I think sometimes those are 2 different things. I always say I understand why Nathan plays TC every week. Would I want to do it if it was me? Not necessarily, but I can see why he does it. I mean, I think the thing on Tuesday in the post match, I was watching the Chronicles on Wednesday, and it was mainly with the post match where he said TC's never let me down. And I was listening to the Chronicles on Wednesday, and they were talking about TC no goal, no assist, that sort of stuff. I was going, we can sit here and criticise till the cows come home. Unfortunately, the manager's gone; he's not being dropped. So I think there's a little bit of that in it as well. Do I think Hernandez let him down on Tuesday? No. But was he definitely a left winger playing left wing back? Yeah. And you expect him to be. Okay, let's just chat Wrexham for 5 or 10 minutes because this was the game that really most people talk about Crawley sending them off the edge on that Tuesday night. And that Tuesday night, just give me 1 second, everyone. Sorry about that. Uh, as I say, if anyone's running late, I'm a little bit sick. So please forgive me for any sort of sniffles or coughs or whatever. I just think it's been a good enough audio recording. I'll be all right to put an audio version. So hello, audio listeners. Um, but but yeah, I mean, it didn't sound like any of the injuries will be back for Saturday. Sam, I think it's going to be after the break at this point. But let's talk about Wrexham. As I say, most people, it was Crawley that that set people over the edge. I tell you what, Crawley upset me, but I was more frustrated than anything else because I thought we were better than we were showing at that point. I'm one of the very few, I think, at times that was never in the Nathan Jones out camp. I always thought he would sort it out, and I didn't think there was anywhere better we could go anyway. I think I was proven right on that particular point. But for me, it wasn't Crawley; it was Wrexham away that absolutely sent me over the edge. I was absolutely fuming after that game last season up there. One, because I actually thought it was a bit silly of Nathan to say, this is a circus. I get it. It was taken out of context. If you listen to the whole quote, that's not really what he said. He was referencing specifically the media always being around, and he's not wrong. Obviously they're saying this week that Christian Eriksen didn't sign for them because he didn't want to be in their darn documentary. And obviously, with his, I don't think he wanted to be seen as like the patient and, put through the sort of Hollywood, what's it called, the Hollywood storyline. But they are a media circus in many ways, and I think that's probably helped us kind of go through. Is that both Birmingham and Wrexham have been, these huge sort of media pulls, and we've just got quietly sort of gone on about our business. But I thought last year when we went up that we just didn't show up. And I know we had injuries, and I know we had last minute sort of problems. And I think we had players that were playing with knocks and all the rest of it. I know Lloyd Jones came back for that game and shouldn't have, and looked a shell of the player. And part of me respect the fact that he fought through it, but he clearly wasn't fit, and we had players on the wrong side, and nothing looked right. And I think one of the goals was offside. So I get all of that, but we just crumbled. It was a difficult environment, and we just absolutely crumbled. I thought the only, but I'm not even sure anyone really came out of. Supposedly he was injured before the game. Stuart was to do with his knee. He was asking if Lloyd Jones was injured early. I think that the thing about Wrexham is that, sod's law, isn't it, that both Southampton and Wrexham now have sort of at least somewhat mitigated their problems. I know Wrexham are tied with us in Coventry, I think, for only losing, maybe Stoke as well, for only losing one of their last 9. Parkinson maybe has figured out the Championship, and I didn't think he was ever going to be able to do that. I thought League One was probably his level, but they have spent, 40 million or something stupid. Do I think that it's a difficult place to go, but half the ground's a construction site at the moment? So I don't think it's going to be quite as intimidating as it was. They're in 14th. They're not, battling for the playoffs, quote unquote. I think it's a bit early to talk about that and expectation management, but they're not fighting for something at the moment, Wrexham, in that sort of way. I watched the game yesterday against Pompey. I sort of had that and QPR Southampton on. And I thought Wrexham were okay. I thought Okonkwo looked all right, actually, and I think there's been a bit of a clown show in goal for them so far. But actually, I thought he had a good game against Pompey. But I still think that there's weaknesses there. You probably need to take a couple of pot shots from the outside just to see. That's where Kerry could be really useful. It's going to be really interesting to see who he plays into in midfield. It's going to be really interesting to see how they play. Yeah, I mean, Sam was saying it's just typical media to turn a statement to something that wasn't even meant or talked about. Yeah, I mean, Nathan didn't do that. If you listen to his interview today, he's much more sort of circumspect, much more sort of, they're a good club. We played each other a couple of times. There's no real rivalry here. No, I do feel we're in a better place, Sam. I'm just worried again that we don't have a fullback. And when we play them, I think did we play Tanai Watson as an inverted fullback in that game? I think we may have done. I can't really remember. It's a naff away end as well. You got like the bar, which is one little window. But get to see Dobson again. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, they're a good side, Wrexham, right? I think any club in the Championship is a good side. If we say we played a team in negative points, yeah, and they were a good side. I don't know if Norwich are a good side, if I'm honest with you. They look absolutely god awful. But I think outside of that, there's an argument without the points deduction. Actually, Wednesday will be ahead of Norwich. But you got to kind of look at it, I think, and you got to look at it, with the construction going on and all the rest of it. If you're going to have an opportunity to go to Wrexham, it not be absolutely full of volume and all the rest of it, and be a bit of a lion's den, then probably, this is the time to go. I know some of the League One heroes don't really play. I haven't seen a huge amount from Rathbone since they've come up. They've got Lewis O'Brien, who's a really good player for this level. And then obviously Kiefer Moore against Lloyd Jones is going to be a really physical matchup. And this is going to really where we're going to see, okay, has Lloyd really taken that leap? I think it's been absolutely sensational so far. I'm not. But I think Ida had him a couple of times on Saturday last. It'll be really interesting. I'm going to play another player that's played in the level above and see more of what he's playing at Yeovil. I think, to be fair, though, Stuart, wasn't that about 10 years ago? To be fair to the lad, I think he's gone on to have a good career sort of post that. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to a close now, everybody. I know it's not quite as long. For those of you listening back, thank you so much. For those who are joining me live, thank you. I apologise, it's not been quite the episode quality as usual, although I think to have mostly fixed the lighting situation. But thank you all very much for joining me. We'll let you all go with half an hour before Cheltenham Live go join Louis and co. And I will see you all back here. Probably be back for doing the 6:30, 6 or 6:30, and then I will be obviously on the Chronicles on Sunday. If you're up in Wrexham, come say hello. Always like to say hello to people. And I will talk to you later. All right, everyone. See you later. Good night. Bye.